let's get right to it. They're scheduled to reopen tourism on Wednesday, but, oh, well, Mullert. Mullert! Sorry. That's why we wanted to bring on the interim president of the Guam Visitors Bureau, former Governor Carl Gutierrez. Thanks for joining us this morning, Governor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Morning.
Sorry, I know you were jamming out to that JD Crutch. I didn't mean to cut it off there.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, man. That makes me move.
Gov, so I guess just first of all, your thoughts, your feelings on this postponement of the reopening of tourism, because I know you're working pretty hard on this. So what are your thoughts this morning?
Well, first of all, just to recap, we were going to lift on July 1st, the tourists coming in, but and we were expecting on July 2nd the first flight from Jin Air, carrying mostly returning residents and some long-term tourists, but also maybe a smattering of a few tourists. And they were supposed to arrive here July 2nd. However, last week we were informed by Jin Air that that's not going to happen until July 23rd. So, moving the date, not lifting the date on July 1st, from an airline standpoint, that we're really no harm done. But of course, the local people here, the restaurants, the hotels, they were in the process of preparing themselves, to start practicing the receiving of tourists, and it just, it was a good learning process that we could be going through, and so hopefully now that it's been not lifted on July 1st, we're hoping that the governor and her advisors come up with a July 15 date. Then that way we can start our planning again.
So that's the date that you want, Gov, is you want a July 15th reopening.
Yes. If we can appeal to the governor to look at that date, and we've got to do something with our industry here. I know the governor has public health concerns, and it's an awesome job she's doing that we can't second guess her. But hopefully we can give her enough information that Guam needs to open up. Our 65% contributor to our economy, and that's the tourism part. So we know that's pretty high, and more drastic things could come by not by continue having unemployed people out there and businesses going out of business.
Gov, if you had your way, what would your protocol be for the incoming tourists as far as testing for COVID-19 goes?
Well, that's out of my lane. But what I'm saying is that if it's true that most people will not travel, if they are to be tested leaving their country, coming to Guam and get tested, and then getting tested when they get back, I doubt how many tourists are going to come with that kind of protocol. And there has to be some kind of middle ground. And that's exactly what I'm asking the governor and her advisors and the doctors' advisory group to think of something not onerous, where we actually, throw the baby out with the bath.
Mm-hmm. Gov, how many tourists are you anticipating to come to Guam? You said You were saying July 15, Jin Air. I mean, how many?
July 23rd, Jin Air.
Okay. I mean, just
not many tourists. I think that that's going to be maybe 10% if to the end of the year, or 20% if the other airlines open up September, October. But that's all we're looking at. And as I stated, I think it would make good sense for us to be able to get a low number coming in the beginning, go through our different protocols at the airport, the hotels, the restaurants, and everywhere else in the community, the beaches, and that we see that our protocol we set here, not so onerous, will be able to continue to allow tourists to come in thinking that they're not going to be going through this hoops that they have to jump through, especially the one that will hurt them is being tested when they get back home.
Gov, what does this do to all the plans that we had to prepare for the reopening of tourism? Like, for example, the cleanup.
Well, hopefully what has transpired over the weekend with hardly any, if there was one testing positive, that we will begin again to replan and get back out to do it. Some people continue to do theirs. I guess they didn't get the memo, and but there are other people that are really anxious to join up and clean up the island. Maybe not necessarily for tourists, but for themselves in the community.
Right.
What was your assessment? Because I've seen a lot of pictures and videos of you out and about visiting some of the parks and including some of the homeless people. And I believe in one of the videos I heard you talking with a homeless person down at Paseo, and you were talking to this individual about, this trying to get homeless people into homes. And one of the things that you said, which really kind of stood out to me, was that you told the homeless person that we're trying to find homes for them, and about this plan or this idea for 20 acres somewhere to build homes for the homeless.
Well, yes, I at one point I had that under my responsibility, but lately I've been told that for me to stick to tourism, and they have a task force for homeless, and I said, well, okay. Sounds good for me, but so far it's been a year and a half, and that homeless group hasn't done nothing.
Are you frustrated with the lack of progress, Gov?
For the homeless community, yes. I know that the governor wanted to move forward something quickly for the Paseo, but that was pulled away from her. But that group who has been charged with this thing, somebody's got to put some responsibility and urgency on these people, because what I was trying to do was solve the problem, long term. And also not only the homeless community, but those people that are up in the Tomorrow Land Trust that have no water, no power, no sewer, that in helping the homeless and moving up to an area like that, we could also help our own people that are pretty much homeless with just a lean-to that they're living under. So we can always merge these two processes together, so we help everyone. And because otherwise you're going to have a fighting between the homeless and those that consider themselves homeless as well, just because they have property, but their home is only a tent.
Gov, how difficult, Gov, is it for you? Because, when I think of Carl Gutierrez, I think of people helping people. That's the type of governor that you are. And so for you having to go out and look at these parks and seeing all these homeless people, and the fact that there is still no solution to the homeless situation, and you're told to stay in your lane.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating, Gov, because you've got the experience. And just knowing how you operate, I can see you surveying the lay of the land, and I know that Governor Carl's saying I can help there. I think we can do this here. I feel like I would be able to offer a solution for this, but then to get told, like Bree said, stay in your lane. How frustrating is it?
It's been 3 months.
Well,
we've
you know
been
what?
talking
Maybe
about.
that's another way that I can be more of an assistance than actually being in the government. So I'm just looking at different ways to be able to help these poor people that I see, and most of them I know by name. Most of them are even my veteran brothers, and there's just not enough. I think emphasis is being put. The governor pushed it as much as he can, but I believe she put the wrong people in there.
Well, I believe the lieutenant governor it
doesn't matter who's in there.
Though.
Governor Gutierrez is just calling a spade a spade.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Bree said the last 3 months, but I think you were key, Gov, when you said a year and a half. That's really how long these people have been waiting.
The governor and the lieutenant governor put forth this solving of the problem when they first came in. And unfortunately, they thought everything was going hunky-dory with the group, but it just was not. And someone like me should be on top of it for them, because the governor and the lieutenant governor just have too much on their plate from the day-to-day operations, and then the COVID hit. So I'm not blaming the governor or the lieutenant governor.
Right.
I just think that someone should be able to step in for them to be able that have gone through these processes in the past and would know how to pull it together. So hopefully the governor will reconsider and allow me to sort of interact with these people.
Yeah, you're one of the people who hasn't resigned yet. Are you planning on resigning, Gov?
No, not planning.
Okay.
Not planning. After this phone call, I don't know, though. Gov, you got the experience, so if you could, just a little insight and your perspective on what's going through Governor Lou's head right now with all these resignations and people retiring? I mean, people are talking about this. It's almost a massive exodus that we're seeing. So what are your thoughts on that? And how does she manage these shortfalls in personnel?
I think we're reading too much into that. I think these people are just ready to be able to retire. I think they were kept on by the governor to help her move forward in the new administration. And some of them, just decided that they're losing money by continuing to work and not retire. So I don't read anything into it. I think it's just their time to be able to move on with their lives.
So how does the governor manage these vacancies? I mean, I think you look at who you have, who's capable, one of those people being you, and you give them more responsibility, but that's not what's happening, is it?
Well, I'm sure that she'll maybe reconsider I don't know. I just don't know anymore. I'm just telling you that something's got to be done.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that based on what you already have on your plate, you can handle and you can take on the homeless issue.
Well, there's a lot of staff at GVB, for example. There's 44 people there. And, we've got 3 countries we market to particularly. And the 4th one in the Philippines is hardly a marketed area. And I think that if I stepped in there and took my people with that have been working on this process for the last year and a half, that I can make it work from within my responsibility at GVB. But I think some of the directors there just don't want me to be able to be doing 2 things and just concentrate on GVB. But everything, even if it's an extraneous thing like homeless, it impacts GVB.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to work it from in there, but they want me to concentrate on GVB, and GVB is going to be impacted by the other extraneous things out there.
Right. I can see you're talking about the interconnection with the homeless and tourism and all these issues kind of intertwining, right?
And the chairman got letters from lawyers already telling, the GVB chairman getting a letter from a lawyer of the neighboring areas over at Royal Palm saying, hey, you guys got to clean this thing up or we're going to be all in court and all that stuff. So obviously they know it impacts GVB, and it's part of GVB's responsibility.
Wow. Feel for you, Gov.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys.
Whoa.
Wait.
So how are you retooling your plan to reopen tourism, Gov? Are you just moving everything kind of down the line a couple weeks?
This is our first day to try to tackle the new protocol. And so I'm heading there now, and I'm pulled over so that I don't get pulled over by someone else, so I could talk to you. But yeah, we're going to be discussing it today.
And what do you anticipate the discussion is going to be? What are you bringing to the table, Gov?
The first thing we're going to discuss is try to get a date of July 15th set forth, and the governor agree with that, so that we can actually plan instead of just guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Gov, I want to go back to these vacancies and the resignations and retirements. Is there anybody out there that you see or you feel would be able to contribute to any of these vacancies that we have in the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration?
Say that again.
Gov, is there, with these vacancies, these resignations, these retirements, is there anybody that former Governor Carl sees that could really contribute in any of these slots that have become empty over the last couple of weeks?
I don't even know who's gone out already, to be truthful with you. So give me some chance to look at it, because I'm looking for people that really know how to get results out there, not just send out press releases and make people believe they're doing something. I want results for the governor. From the outset, I said, Governor, I'm going to get results for you, and that's all that matters. And some of these people are not results oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we have the governor's legal counsel. Obviously, they plugged that opening at the airport. Public health. Anybody public health? You think that
Lori Duenas is
Duenas is acting now.
No, I no, I'm not. I'm so immersed right now. With
I see.
Okay.
Right.
I don't even know who's retiring and who left.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I heard that DeNorsi did, and
right.
And Tom Ada did. That's the 2 that I know that have experience under their belt. So otherwise, I'm just going to go up to GVB and see where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, otherwise I'm staying in my lane,
Right.
guys. And I'm just gonna stay in my lane.
Well, speaking of a GVB, where are we? I mean, obviously, part of the plan can't just be we're going to clean up Tumon. What else long term is the plan for tourism recovery?
Well, we have not gotten down to other details than to find the Washington, D.C. to remove us from the entire United States as far as protocols are concerned. We've been reaching out to make sure that Guam is Guam-centric and that everything that we're in Asia and that Asia, we're closer to Asia than to Honolulu, and that if we can get tourism guidelines and protocols from the COVID just carved out only for Guam and not included in the entire United States. That's one thing that we're able to let them know that we are America in Asia, but international in flavor, and that you should not be treating us the same as any domestic place in the United States. And once we get that, I think that it'd be easier for us to be able to deal with other countries around us in Asia, in the Philippines, and over into Thailand, over into Vietnam, and opening up more tourists visa-free. And so I hope that Guam can be a laboratory thing for the United States to sort of use.
Are you working with Congressman St. Nicholas on that initiative?
No, but I will because he's there now. But I'm just reaching in first to the powers that be in the Republican administration. And once I use the Republicans here in Guam as well. I speak with Juan Carlos Benitez and other businessmen to be able to get me the right people to speak to. I mean, it's about getting results. It's not about getting credit. But so that's what I'm working on, and hopefully that I can continue.
Okay.
Okay, Gov.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gov.
you.
Wash your hands, okay?
And wear a mask.
Wear your mask. Make sure,
I
Gov.
did. I got
Okay.
8 masks in my car.
You're wearing 8 masks right now? What?
No, but I have to change it because, after a while, your breath just gets all over.
Thank you, Gov.
Thanks, Gov.
Okay, so there you go. Wow. It sounds like former Governor Carl Gutierrez has some issues with the way things are being handled in the administration. But you know what? Of course he does. Of course he does. This guy was governor for 8 years. He was, the legislature. I mean, of course he has thoughts.
Yeah. Hey, if he wants to tackle the homeless issue, man.
What are they doing? Like, you got a guy here like he wants to do. He wants. People are leaving you. The people don't want to do work anymore.
Yeah.
So you look at who you got and who can do it, and you say, "Hey, yeah, go for it." I mean, I don't know if I'm governor and Uncle Carl's saying, "No, I can take care of the homeless." I'm like, "Pues, go for it, dude, please."
Siggy.
Siggy, go.
And like I said, he is the people helping people. That's gotta just be so frustrating to be the one to go out there to visit with the homeless people and telling them, "Hey, man, we got to clear out the parks, and we're gonna try and help you," but he's being told, "Stay in your lane."
Man, and he just threw all those people on that homeless council under the bus. That was like a sufat. It's like, bam! It was like a judo. Boom.
Oof.
I just wanted to.
But he's always been that way. Tell it like it is. I know I've been on the receiving end of that, and I'm good with it.
How times have changed.
He's not the one that runs away, right? When you interview someone, he's right there, and he will answer the question. It may not be,
the answer you want
right,
to hear,
but he just tells it like it is, and you're like, "Thank you."
And Bree, you've been covering Carl and his career, in all of its, various iterations for what, 25 years now?
Well, I got here in '96, so since I got here, I covered a lot.
And that's the point I wanted to make, because if anybody dared even thought to tell Carl Gutierrez, stay in your lane, maybe about 20 years ago and everything like that,
well, I guess
there would be a couple people blowing up your phone.
Yeah, but I guess Governor Lilian Guerrero is that lady who can tell him to stay in his lane. But you see, I could hear he's frustrated that he really wants to help and he doesn't understand why he can't.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean,
because they are connected, like you said.
Yeah.
But he's not trying to make any dissension in the ranks, and he's saying, "Hey,
he's not trying to make any dissension in the ranks. I don't think you're right. I don't think he's trying. But with that phone call, I think he did.
He's saying, "I work for the governor."
And somehow they're going to flip it on us and be like, damn KUAM. God, if they weren't asking, no, hey, we had to get him on. And
But he really stood up. He stood up for the homeless people in that interview,
which is so refreshing.
Wow.
I mean, it's so refreshing, and just not seeing that anywhere else. No one else is standing up for them. We're reporting on it. The homeless people obviously felt like they've been kicked to the curb, and they have been. They're sleeping on the curb. And when I heard the governor's response to the press conference Saturday, I swear to God, I feel like you could take that response and just copy paste it to the last 5 press conferences. Yeah. She's been saying the same damn thing for the last 5 press conferences. I don't want to just put them up in a house. Well, why don't we just start there? Why don't we just start there? What's wrong with putting them up in a shelter? But it seems like they don't want to put them up in the shelter until they have the services, until they have the employment services, until they
couldn't find anybody willing to
or they couldn't find anybody with it connected. They couldn't find anyone who was in. We don't know because they're not saying. That's the problem. Is when you have a vacuum of information, people will just start saying things. Mm-hmm. So we had heard last week, for sure. That's what the deputy at DPW said, for sure, guys. Lieutenant Governor, I think he said 2 weeks ago.
No, he said, 2 weeks ago, he said he should have a answer
by
on
the
Monday.
End of the week, right?
But on Monday, which was Monday of last week.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's sad to say, but I'm just not even surprised anymore. Like, I might have a heart attack when they announce that they have awarded the bid for the shelter. Because at this point, I think it's clear. The writing on the wall is clear. The homeless, it's not a priority. Sadly, it's just not a priority for this administration. It just isn't. I mean, going back to the drop-in shelter that was supposed to be at the old legislature building. We had plans to use that as a drop-in shelter. The need for it is great. Gotten you homeless. Tremendous numbers. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, we don't want it. We just want to have offices there for more GovGuam offices, for more deputy directors. And they scrapped those plans. And now here we are. Homeless people can't catch a break, can't get a roof over their head. And it's just more frustrating than ever because, it just seems like nobody cares. That's what it seems like to me. And we've seen where the government of Guam can use superpowers to get things done. But in this instance, I guess because they're just homeless people, there's no real rush. And all we hear is, oh, they didn't do that. Oh, they didn't do that. Oh, we didn't hear that when they were using the emergency superpowers. So why don't we just use the emergency superpowers again?
There's guidelines and rules and...
I'm just saying, you've already shown that you could do it a certain way.
I mean, for like a homeless shelter, that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
I got to see these guidelines and rules.
I mean, Jesus, what kind of guidelines are we talking about? But, at least to me, in talking with former Governor Carl, you can say what you can about him, but I just think it's refreshing that there's someone in the government of Guam who is calling it like it is. Because everyone else is tippy-toeing around this,
That was refreshing to hear. You're right.
Yeah.
And completely unexpected.
Yeah. Because I'll be honest with you guys, Governor Gutierrez is worried about overshadowing Governor Liu. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, and that's part of why they never called him up is because there were people who were advising Governor Liu that, if you bring in Uncle Carl, he's going to overshadow you, he's going to work around you, he's going to go behind your back, he's going to do this. And maybe those people were one of the people who resigned. Because there's obviously been a change where now Uncle Carl has a seat at the table. But, the problem with Uncle Carl to some people is he might be sitting in this chair, but he's going to want to sit at that one and that one too. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good. Hey, if the guy wants to do the work and solve the problem, let him do it.
One thing that you mentioned, Bree, was, you said that he is a very hands-on, he was a very hands-on executive when he did it. And the one thing that I know in the years that we've covered him and everything is he always said, we have to run GovGuam as a business. That is one thing he said every single time when he was the governor, when he ran for governor again, when he tried to, get back into public politics and everything like that. So he always just says, if this was a private entity, we just get the money together, have an A-team, organize, and solve the damn problem.
Right.
And that basically he's always just said that. He's like, if this was a business, we just get our act together and go fix it.
I don't remember if that's what he said, but I do know that if he sets his mind to something, it will get done. For
yeah,
sure.
and well, that was a soundbite he gave us on a number of occasions. Like, we have to run GovGuam like a business.
Right. So, yeah, it really was interesting to hear him talking about the people in charge of settling this homeless situation. And he wasn't just referring to the past several months since COVID happened. He was mentioning for the past year
and a half.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good. Maybe, you know what, though? Sometimes you need your uncle or your elders in your family to just chew your ass out so that you do your damn job. So hopefully, the right people got their asses chewed by that phone call from Uncle Carl, and they'll get this done. Get it done. We had a comment here. They can't get or make money from the homeless, so no superpowers for them. Sad. It's costly. No profit from this project. That's Uncle Carl working for the people and the homeless. Yep,
In
Carl's
the video
always
and
helping.
in the video and the pictures, I have to say though, I didn't see him with a mask on when he was talking to people.
Right.
Somebody also jumped in our comment stream, and they were saying, didn't Lieutenant Governor Tenorio say that he was working on a plan that was kind of like to emulate what Hawaii is doing?
They said so much. I lost track.
Right, because he had. I remember he was on a trip, but this was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
He went on a trip and he toured the homeless area in Hawaii, but again, that was pre-COVID. But he's been the one that's been talking about. I thought he was the one in charge of this whole homeless situation, the plan for the homeless, and then but we haven't seen anything. And I want to say that the governor in one of her press conferences months ago said that he was tasked to address the problem or address the shelters.
Bree, if we went back and collected every soundbite from every press conference about this homeless, it would just be so embarrassing for the administration. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for a Democrat administration who is supposed to, their bread and butter is supposed to be taking care of those less fortunate. You know what I mean? The social programs, that's supposed to be the bread and butter of a Democrat administration, and they're just failing on so many things that are just you would expect from Democrats. 7:40. We're switch gears just a little.